Hey, RhinoCats, happy Thursday. It is Miss Mary Louise here, and I thought for math today we could try a little multiplication. So typically on Thursdays we are covering place value. However, I bumped that up to Tuesday's lesson because I got a special request. So this Thursday, today, we will be focusing on operations. Remember, mathematical operations just mean addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So today I wanted to kind of introduce multiplication. I've gotten a few special requests to do some multiplication assignments, and I thought that this would be a really great introduction and way to kind of get our feet wet and feel more comfortable multiplying for those friends that still need a little bit more practice to get there. So today, I want to explore multiplication, and multiplication is just adding in equal groups. Now, we talked about what it means to be equal in geometry when we're talking about sides on a shape. And we talked about how equal sides on a shape are all the same length. And when we're talking about equal groups in regards to multiplication, I just mean there is the same number, there's the same amount in each group. So for example, if we're talking about pairs of socks, remember a pair is just a set of two. So if I'm adding 3 groups of socks here, right, 1, 2, 3, and in each group, there's an equal amount of socks, right? There are 2 socks in each group, or 1 pair of socks in each group. So we could add that up and say 2 plus 2 plus 2, and that would give us 6, right? 2, 4, 6, if we're skip counting by 2. However, it's easier if we memorize our multiplication facts to get this answer. There's a shortcut when we use multiplication. Multiplication is just a shortcut for addition. And it's great to use when you're adding the same amount of something. So you're adding something in equal groups, like these socks. So another way we could write 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6 is to say 2 times 3, or just 2 3 times, right? Because we have 1 pair of socks, 2 in each pair, right? This 2 is represented 3 times. So it would be 2 times 3 equals 6. That's the same exact same thing as saying 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. It's just a shortcut. So what we're going to be doing today with our IXL activity is we're just going to be practicing identifying equal groups, adding equal groups, and this will help us start to understand the concept of multiplication a little bit better, I think. Remember, drawings, seeing things on paper or on the computer can be really helpful, because once we're able to see why we're doing something, see how we're doing something, it's just gonna make that step more easy for us to do in the future, right? So we'll be able to more easily multiply once we get familiar with what we're actually doing when we multiply. So for example, number 1, we are going to fill in the blank to describe the model. So for a lot of your assignments, you're going to be seeing a lot of models, kind of like how we see place value models. It's just basically a drawing that's representing a math problem. So fill in the blanks to describe the model. It's saying there are blank groups of dots. So we need to figure out how many groups of dots there are. And then it says there are blank dots in each group. So we need to figure out first how many groups of dots there are, and then how many dots in each of these groups. And that's going to help us create a multiplication problem or expression. We're not there yet, but that's going to be our first step. So How many groups of dots do we see? Well, our groups are represented in these circles here. So it looks like to me there are two groups. There are two groups or circles here that both have the same amount or equal amounts of circles within the groups, right? So I would say there are two groups of dots. And then how many dots are in each group? Well, there are 1, 2, 3 dots in each group. So two groups of dots, and there are 3 in each group. Now, if we wanted to go ahead and make a multiplication problem with this, we could say 3 times 2, right? There are 3 dots, and there are 2 groups of them. So it's 3 2 times, or we could say 2 times 3. We could say there are 2 equal groups of 3. So either way, 2 times 3 or 3 times 2, it would give you the same answer, which is going to be 6, right? And we can get 6 by adding. It's just going to take us a little longer to get there, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But just for the purposes of this question, or this answer rather, you would plug in there are 2 groups of dots and there are 3 dots in each group. Our next question here says, which expression describes the model? So which of these multiplication expressions or number problems are going to describe this model or this drawing that you see here? So if we take a look, we know that our groups are represented by the big circles outside of the smaller circles, right? So it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. And in each of these groups, we have the same amount, right? We have 2 dots in each of these groups. So 4 groups, 2 dots each. So doing the same thing that we did with problem number 1, we would say, or we would multiply the amount of groups by the amount of dots in each group. So we would say 4 groups times 2 dots, right? And that would be the first problem here, or the first expression here that they provide us with, 4 times 2. Now, if we go ahead and look at the other option, 4 times 3, that would represent 4 groups like we see here. However, there would need to be 3 dots each in these group to make that an accurate expression, or for it to reflect that expression. And just for kicks and giggles, to see what 4 times 2 equals, we can count up all of our dots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or also, if you know that 4 plus 4, or 4 2 times, is 8, great way to just solve that problem easily. And then last but not least, some of you guys who are more comfortable with multiplication at this point may get questions or may have to fill in missing factors. So those missing numbers that you're going to multiply to get your product, to get your final answer. So here, these kind of look like cookies, but we've got a model here where we see 3 groups, right? We've got 3 of those big circles. And within those 3 groups, we have 3 dots, right? So 3 groups times 3 dots, and that would give us 9 dots total, right? And we know that because we could add up these dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that would give us our answer. But we also see here that we have 3 groups with 3 dots in them. So no matter whether it's your group or the number of dots, it's going to be the same, right? 3, 3. So we would put a 3 in our blank right here. 3 times 3 equals 9. So guys, this is just a great practice or refresher for those who are still kind of getting familiar with multiplication. And even if you are at a good stage where you are memorizing multiplication facts, this is just a great practice to help you visualize what you're doing when you're multiplying and why you are doing that. So a great practice for any of us at any of our levels. All right, guys, go find your assignment in the description next to your initials, and I will be reaching out later to see how you guys are doing.